a high school biology class, a routine blood typing exercise, and 15 years of lies, reduced to ash in a single afternoon. In this story, a man raised a daughter, changed her diapers, taught her to ride a bike, walked her to school every morning, loved her unconditionally for 15 years. And then one day she came home from biology class and asked a question that would destroy everything. See, the thing about blood types? They don't lie. DNA doesn't negotiate. And when the numbers don't add up, someone's been lying for a very long time. This isn't just a story about infidelity. It's about a wife who let her husband raise another man's child for 15 years. It's about a daughter who had to choose between biology and love. And it's about a man who had to decide, does fatherhood live in the blood or in the years? Spoiler alert, by the end, the mother loses everything. The daughter makes a choice that will rip your heart in half. And the father? He learns what it really means to be a dad. Let's go back to the beginning. Back when everything still made sense.
I want you to picture this. It's a Tuesday morning. I'm in the kitchen making scrambled eggs. My daughter, let's call her Emma. She's 15, sitting at the table doing her biology homework. My wife, Sarah, is pouring coffee. Normal, right? This was my life. For 15 years, this was my entire world. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I was some perfect dad. I missed a recital once because of work. I got frustrated when Emma was learning to drive. I'm human, but I love that kid. I mean, the kind of love where you throw yourself in front of a bus without thinking. The kind where you stay up all night when she has the flu, even though you've got a 7 a.m. meeting. I was there for her first word, her first steps, her first heartbreak when some idiot named Cody broke up with her in 8th grade. I was her dad, and Sarah, we'd been married for 17 years. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but we were solid. Or at least, I thought we were. Looking back now, I can see the cracks. Little things. The way she'd get weird when I asked about her past. How she was overly protective of her phone. How she always changed the subject when I talked about Emma looking more like my side of the family. But you don't see it when you're in it, you know? You trust the person you married. You trust the life you built. So yeah, Tuesday morning, scrambled eggs, biology homework, and then Emma asked the question, "Dad, what's your blood type?" I didn't think much of it. I said, "Type O." "Why?" She said, "Mom's A positive, right?" Sarah looked up from her coffee. I saw something flicker across her face. Just for a second. Emma kept going. "We're doing this blood typing lab in bio. I got my results back. I'm type B." I still didn't get it. I said, "Cool. So you got it from your mom's side or something." And then Emma said, "Dad, that's not possible."
For those who slept through high school biology, let me break this down. Blood type is determined by alleles inherited from each parent. Type O is recessive, 2O alleles. Type A can be AO or AA. Type B can be BO or BB. If the father is type O, he can only pass an O allele. If the mother is type A, she can pass an A or an O. The only possible outcomes for their child are type A or type O. Type B is genetically impossible in this scenario, which means one of three things: a hospital mix-up, a genetic mutation so rare it's basically a medical miracle, or the father isn't the father.
The room went quiet. I looked at Emma. She was staring at her notebook, like she was trying to make the numbers work. I looked at Sarah. And Sarah, she looked terrified. I laughed it off. I said, "Maybe the lab screwed up. Those school labs aren't exactly reliable." But Sarah didn't say anything. Emma said, "They had us test twice. I'm definitely B positive." I felt this weird coldness in my chest, like when you're about to get bad news from a doctor. I said, "Sarah." She put down her coffee mug. Her hands were shaking. She said, "We should talk about this later." Later. Not the lab made a mistake. Not let's get a retest. Not that's weird. Let me call the hospital where you were born. Later. I sent Emma to school. Told her not to worry about it. Told her we'd figure it out. And then I turned to my wife. And I said, "What the hell is going on?" She tried to lie. That's the part that still gets me. After 15 years, she looked me in the eye and tried to lie. She said maybe there was a mix-up at the hospital. Maybe my blood type was wrong. Maybe the test was faulty. I said, "Sarah, I've donated blood a dozen times. I'm O negative. It's on my medical records. It's on my driver's license. She went quiet. I said, is Emma mine? And she started crying. Now, I know what you're thinking. Crying doesn't mean guilty. But it wasn't sad crying. It was caught crying. She said, it was so long ago. And that's when I knew. The next part, it's called trickle truth. I didn't know the term back then, but I do now. It's when someone feeds you the truth in tiny, painful pieces. Just enough to explain what you already know, but never the whole story. First, she said it was a one-time thing. A mistake. A co-worker at her old job. Then, after I pushed, she admitted it was more than once. Then, after I threatened to leave, she admitted it was a months-long affair. And then, finally, she admitted she didn't know for sure if Emma was mine, but she suspected she wasn't. 15 years. She let me raise a child for 15 years, knowing there was a chance she wasn't mine. I asked her, why didn't you ever tell me? Why didn't you get a test done when she was born? You know what she said? Because I didn't want to lose you. I got a DNA test. One of those mail-in kits. Ordered it that night. Emma didn't know yet. I told her we were just double-checking the lab results to be safe. Sarah begged me not to. Said it didn't matter. Said I was Emma's dad no matter what. And you know what? She was right about one thing. I was Emma's dad. But that didn't change the fact that I'd been lied to for 15 years. The results took 8 days. Longest 8 days of my life. And when that email came through, 0% probability of paternity. I sat in my car in the driveway for an hour. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there. 15 years of my life. Every memory I had of Emma, her first laugh, teaching her to swim, scaring away the monsters under her bed. All of it was built on a lie. And the worst part? I still loved her. That's the thing nobody tells you. Finding out she's not your blood doesn't turn off 15 years of being her dad. It doesn't erase the love. It just makes it hurt more. I went inside. Sarah was in the kitchen. She saw my face and knew. I said, I'm filing for divorce. She broke down. Started apologizing. Said she'd do anything. I said, you already did.
Betrayal is an interesting thing. It doesn't just destroy the present. It rewrites the past. Every moment, every memory, every time he looked at his daughter and saw his own eyes staring back. All of it was a lie. Here's the twist. The law doesn't care about your feelings. And when you've been raising a child for 15 years, the courts have a very different perspective on who's responsible. Let's talk about what happened when he tried to walk away.
So I hired a lawyer. Guy's name was Bill. Mid-50s. Looked like he'd seen every flavor of divorce hell. I laid it all out for him. The affair. The DNA test. The 15 years of deception. I said, I want out. Full divorce. I don't want to pay child support for a kid that isn't mine. Bill looked at me and said, you're not going to like this. Turns out, in most states, if you've been acting as the father for a certain number of years, the courts consider you the legal father regardless of biology. It's called presumed paternity, which means even though Emma wasn't my biological kid, I was still on the hook for child support, possibly until she turned 18. I said, are you kidding me? I was lied to. Bill said, doesn't matter. You signed the birth certificate. You acted as her father. In the eyes of the law, you are her father. I wanted to flip the table. The divorce got ugly fast. Sarah's lawyer tried to paint me as the bad guy. Said I was abandoning my daughter over a technicality. A technicality. Like 15 years of infidelity and lies was just a paperwork error. They pushed for full custody. Tried to argue that I was unstable. That I was punishing Emma for Sarah's mistakes. And the worst part? Emma still didn't know the full truth. Sarah wanted to keep it that way. Wanted to tell Emma some sanitized version where mommy and daddy just grew apart. I said no. If we were doing this, we were doing it honest. Emma deserved the truth. I sat Emma down on a Saturday afternoon. Just me and her. Living room. No Sarah. I said, there's something I need to tell you, and it's going to be hard to hear. She looked scared. Asked if someone died. I said no. But things are going to change. I told her everything. The affair. The DNA test. The fact that I wasn't her biological father. I watched her face the whole time. Watched her go from confused to shocked to destroyed. She said, "So you're not my dad?" And I said, "I've been your dad for 15 years. That doesn't change. But biologically, no." She asked who her real father was. I said I didn't know. Sarah never told me his name. Emma got up, walked to her room, locked the door, and I sat there wondering if I'd just made the worst mistake of my life. Emma didn't talk to me for 3 days. Didn't talk to Sarah either. Just stayed in her room. Missed school. Wouldn't eat. Sarah blamed me. Said I traumatized her. Said I should have let her tell Emma in her own way. I said, "Your way would have been another lie." On the 4th day, Emma came out. She walked past Sarah like she didn't exist. Came up to me and said, "Can we go get breakfast? Just us." We went to this little diner we used to go to when she was a kid. She'd always order the same thing, chocolate chip pancakes, extra whipped cream. She ordered it again. Didn't eat much. Finally, she said, "I don't know what to feel." I said, "That's okay. Neither do I." She said, "Are you going to leave?" I said, "I'm divorcing your mom, but I'm not leaving you. Not unless you want me to." She started crying. She said, "I'm so mad at her." I didn't know what to say. I was mad too, but she was still Emma's mom. Emma said, "She lied to both of us for my whole life." And I realized this wasn't just my betrayal. It was hers too. The custody hearing was brutal. Sarah's lawyer kept hammering the same point. He's been her father for 15 years. Why is he abandoning her now? My lawyer shot back. He's not abandoning her. He's divorcing a woman who committed fraud. The judge asked Emma who she wanted to live with. Emma was 16 by this point, old enough for her preference to carry weight. She looked at Sarah. Then she looked at me, and she said, "I want to stay with my dad." Sarah lost it, started crying, saying Emma didn't understand, that she was being manipulated. Emma cut her off. She said, "You lied to me my entire life. You lied to Dad. You let him raise me knowing I might not be his. And you never said a word. He changed my diapers. He taught me to read. He was at every single soccer game, every recital, every parent-teacher conference. You were there too, but you were only there because he believed I was his. Blood doesn't make you my parent. Being there does. And he was there. You were just hiding." The judge granted me primary custody. Sarah got supervised visitation. And Emma stopped calling her mom. Emma and I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment across town. It wasn't much, but it was ours. She decorated her room with posters and fairy lights. Started going back to school. Made new friends. Slowly, we built a new normal. Sarah tried to reach out. Texted Emma constantly. Sent letters. Showed up at her school once. Emma blocked her number. Threw the letters away. I asked her once, "Do you ever think about forgiving her?" She said, "Maybe one day, but not today." People ask me all the time, "Do you still think of her as your daughter?" And the answer is yes. Every single day. She's not my blood, but she's mine. I don't know if we'll ever have a relationship with Sarah again. I don't know if Emma will ever want to meet her biological father. What I do know is this. Fatherhood isn't about DNA. It's about showing up. And I'll keep showing up for as long as she'll let me.
A high school biology test, a blood type chart, and 15 years of lies, all unraveled in a single afternoon. The mother lost everything. The husband lost his marriage. But the daughter? She gained something most people spend their whole lives searching for. Truth. Biology is science. But family? Family is a choice. Case closed.